Hello and welcome to the show today. I am so glad to be here. It is Christmas Eve 2024. What a day. 12/24/2024. It's been an interesting year for me. I've had a lot of challenges and it's been hard. It's been a hard year 2024. I'd love to see in the comments for those of you who are watching, how's 2024 been for you? As we're coming into Christmas here, I'm haven't had the Christmas spirit. Um, I have had the love of Jesus, and I love that it's for me. I am a Christian. I actually consider myself a follower of Christ. That's how I say it, Jesus Christ, more than a Christian. Christian's got all kinds of terminology. I mean, all kinds of definitions that people have for it and ways of thinking about it. And that's part of what I wanted to talk about today, as we're before we start our coaching is. You don't know a lot about me, some of you, and what my belief system is, and this internal guidance system is deeply integrated in my life, um, and and it also is non-denominational. It's really a beautiful thing. It works for every single human being, and so it doesn't really matter what my belief system is. But I personally, I love Jesus, and I love the Holy Spirit, and I think of the internal guidance system as being a way of tapping into the guidance from the Holy Spirit. Now, you don't have to be Christian. You could be, I have Muslims, I have atheists, I have Buddhists, I have New Agers, I have all kinds of people in my community, and I have no judgment about any of them. All of us come to our own decisions in our lives. I believe that's what's most important, is that we have freedom to make those decisions for ourselves. But for me, this is a beautiful time of year, and I really love it. I actually love my reading of the Bible and what I get from it, and what I glean for it, and the way it enhances my life. But I do have to say that 2024 has been a rough year. A lot has happened for me that was very difficult, my family as well. And I'm looking forward to 2025. And the most exciting thing is this show and the new community that's forming around the internal guidance system work, Fear Free Human, the movement of evolving humans out of mental fear forever. That's my goal. My goal is literally launching now, and we'll be jumping in, full steam ahead in 2025, of letting people know that they don't have to have mental fear anymore at all. That mental fear is actually guidance, that what you're thinking is not true or not going to happen. And that if once we begin to take fear, worry, anxiety, overwhelm, stress, irritation, frustration, impatience, gluttony, greed, even the feelings of that we're using to addictions to cover up, all of that is incorporated into mental fear. And then we don't have to have it as a human species anymore, that we can get to a place where we've evolved ourselves out of it by doing our own inner work, pivoting from the tight closing feeling into the opening feeling, starting our new neural pathways, which actually ends generational trauma when you do that. And evolving, this is the most incredible thing, evolving yourself and everyone around you into a more loving, harmonious, compassionate, deep, beautiful space. Sky is here with us, and she just texted saying that she loves Jesus and observed the Saturday Sabbath. Yes, I after all the research I did, I realized I think the Sabbath and the rest day of rest is supposed to be on Saturday. So I attune to that too as well. So I'm glad you love that, Sky. And then Elise gave us some Christmas presents and some Christmas love in her text. Thank you, Elise. And how has your 2024 been, everybody? Come on, you can give it to me in the chat. Has it been like a great year? Or are you like me looking forward to 2025? As we step into this new year and this new mission, I'm feeling invigorated, which is really great, because in 2023, at this time, back then in 2023, I was feeling a bit leery of 2024. I wasn't sure 2024 was going to be any better than 2023. And lo and behold, for me, 2024 was a little more difficult. I lost people I loved, and there were some real struggles. So, but the thing that I think is most important with the struggles I came through is I also did a really deep dive into grievances in my life and forgiveness. I looked at all the places in my life where I was stuck in the past in situations where I was holding on to something that I didn't want to hold on to anymore. The way I like to think of it with grievances is if you're walking down a grocery store aisle, because you're kind of trapped, right? If you're walking down a grocery store aisle, you can't go right or left. You can't hide. It's not like you can dive behind the cereal man. And so if somebody's coming up, right, and you have to face them head on because they're just stuck, is there anything in the way of being able to greet that person with love and excitement? Excitement might be a little bit too much for some of the people that I had grievances with in my past, but at least love, compassion, and even an empathy. I've had a couple people this year really come out and attack me. They have some wrong understanding and beliefs about what was going on and in a situation. And I really had to come to a place of like really understanding if I believed what they believed, I don't know how I would behave, but I at least could have the understanding of them being the way they were being. And in when I got into this place of really having a challenging year, the thing that I have a tendency to do is because I look at the world as if it's a mirror reflecting back to me my own soul. Why is this in my mirror? Now, a lot of times it's the only thing that you really want to change your mirror is when you're triggered, overly triggered. Now, a trigger can be something super unpleasant, right? Like you getting upset about somebody and the way that they're treating you. But a trigger can also be when somebody is like giving you too much admiration and fanning your ego and you get, all excited and connected to that admiration or that appreciation or whatever. You want to be really careful about that too, because triggering can be either pleasant or unpleasant, and both can lead you to being disconnected from your divine source in the moment and being able to listen to its guidance, because your ego can run away with you. And very often we think of triggers as being negative things, but really, truly, it's an internal thing. And so as I was getting ready and going through the tough time in 2024, and I've been getting ready for 2025, I was looking at various people that I would have a grocery store moment that I would be disappointed in, or that would be even scary for me. And I began to clear that out. And the interesting thing is what I found in doing that is I refreshed my joy in my life. We think about it for just a minute. As you're sitting there and you're watching, I want you to think about people in your life that you might be feeling really stuck on. And it's amazing to me, as I was actually looking at grievances, I was shocked at how many people I had grievances against. I had grievances in the 90s with a printer, somebody that did printing for me. And they made this, they changed my design without my permission. And they printed everything, the stationery, because back then we used to do faxes and all that. They printed the stationery, my business card, my envelopes. They took my entire budget with a logo that I hadn't approved and that I hated. And I was so mad. And years later, when I was looking at grievances this year, it's years later, and that thing came up and that came up, right? And I have no idea. They thought they were doing me a favor. And what was interesting is the way that I was able to move through the grievances by going back and looking at this is the mirror practice, where do I do this to myself or someone else? And I had a tendency to over deliver without people asking me to. I want you to think about that. I would go and do something that I thought would help somebody without them asking me to, and without getting their permission, and without knowing if they really needed that. My egoic issue was seeing something broken and then fixing it, as if I had any right to even be looking at something that's broken or needs to be changed or amended. This person didn't like my logo. And I asked them to just reproduce the logo I have and then send it all to the printer, because I didn't have the skills in Photoshop. And instead, they went ahead and they changed the design and sent it out. And they were actually all excited about the change. They were actually really angry at me because I didn't receive their design in the way that they thought I would. They thought I would be excited, and I was really disappointed because I had loved my logo. Now, I know this sounds silly, but I'm sure you have similar things like this in your life with vendors and people and things, And so it doesn't even have to be a grievance of somebody that that's even close to you. We could have grievances about ridiculous things like a printer I have never talked to ever again. And I ended up never even using any of that material because it didn't represent who I was in the world. And when I really dug in this year to get rid of that grievance, to find out, because it's a trigger. And if you have a trigger, that means that it's your stuff coming up. And the reason how it can come up, the reason why it's in your mirror, the reflection, people and things and situations come into your life and it reflects back to your own soul. And when I was digging in, trying to figure it out, I was like, well, where do I do that? Where do I just arrogantly go about my life and do what I think is best for somebody without ever actually getting any permission? And it was like, wow, I don't do it anymore. But at that time, I was doing that. At that time, I remember thinking that I knew better. This was like late 20s, I was 29 years old, I think, when this all happened. And I thought I knew best. And it took me in my mid 30s before I realized how dumb I really am and how little I really know and how I should not be out there trying to fix things that aren't any of my business, which is one of the tools that we use in Fear Free Human at the Institute. This is one of the big practices that people love, is lots of things in your life aren't your business. And so this is how you go if you want to engage in a practice like this for the year before you go into 2025. I highly encourage you to do it, because this stuff's in your body cellularly. Like, I want you, can you just do me a favor, and you can put it in the chat if you want. Think of somebody that you really have an issue with. They may not even be in your life. It could be an old boyfriend that did you wrong, or girlfriend that did you wrong. It could be a friend from high school that maybe, or not a friend, somebody that used to talk behind your back or cause you grief in high school. It could be an ex-coworker. It could be a business partnership that you had. It could be a child that hurt your feelings. Those darn kids, they can really be really difficult and have, some pretty mean things to say if they know you so well. And I just think of someone really for just a moment. And notice, first of all, your IGS will close, because a grievance is always closing. Okay? Discernment is opening, and discernment is not judging the person, but understanding your place and where their place is in your life in a state of boundary, of being in a boundary. But grievances is a place where you're triggered and you're in it. And that means there's some place in your life where, one, either you're doing this to yourself, whatever that person is doing that's causing you the trigger, the grievance, or you're doing it to someone else and you're unaware of it. Or the third one, which is less often but is true, is there's something that you wish you could do and you won't allow yourself. You have some moral issue with it, some problem where you think like, I can't do that. Okay? And so if you were to go and make a list before we go into 2025, you make a list of everybody that you have an issue with, and you just write out, what is the big issue? Mine was, they changed my logo and spent my whole budget, and I had no money to go and have that reproduced anywhere else. I couldn't do it, and it wasn't what I wanted, and I didn't ask them for the help in that way. Where do I do this to myself, or where do I do it to someone else, or where is it something I wish I could do and I'm not letting myself because of a moral reason or a standard that I'm holding and I'm judging them by? And what happens is when you actually just ask that, sometimes it'll be like, bam, yep, I know exactly where I'm doing this. I can totally see it. Or I say the same things inside my head that I hear this person saying, to me, and I'm attracting it. And that's what the reflection is. But on the flip side, sometimes you won't see it right away. But I promise you that the way the world works is that when you put your attention on something, the universe brings it to you. The way that this world is constructed is it comes into your purview. I remember that when I was in my early 20s, I really wanted a yellow Honda Prelude. That was the car I was looking to buy. And I did get it. I love that car. And all of a sudden, everywhere I went, I saw yellow Preludes. Right? And it's the same thing with wherever we put our attention, it starts showing up. And so as soon as you decide that you want to release this grievance and you look at it as a self-responsibility, well, it's in my face, then so therefore it's got to be somehow that I'm attracting it. I'm triggered, only if you're triggered. Not, if it doesn't trigger you, it's not an issue of yours. It's really interesting. I talk about this often where there'll be somebody who, we've got a group of friends and somebody will be really irritated with a friend of ours, and what they do doesn't bother me at all. Those two have a reflecting mirror together. And I don't have that issue with the person because that particular issue doesn't trigger me at all. It's not my thing. So as you're looking through your grievances, there's some reason why this person showed up, and people show up in our lives and rub us the wrong way to wake us up to things that we are not acknowledging in our own field, not acknowledging in our own experience. And there's a magic that happens when you are able to see where you're doing this to yourself or someone else. Because what happens is when you solve it, and awareness is like the biggest part of it. I'm going to give you another practice too after this, but awareness is a huge part of this. The second issue is you'll start seeing where you're contributing to this, and you can be at choice. You can be at choice. You can decide whether you want to keep that behavior, that attitude, that thing that you're doing, and have no judgment around it anymore. So for instance, an example of that is I'm a very stubborn person, very stubborn. Okay. And I decided when I realized I had a very stubborn person that wouldn't bend on something, and I looked at where am I that way? I am that way. When and I use my stubbornness to achieve things, right? And to hold my standards for myself. I decided to keep my stubbornness. It opened me with my IGS to keep my stubbornness. There's other things that I decided not to keep. One of them was being irrationally emotional. I used to, when I was younger, in my early 20s, I'm a very different person than I was. The IGS has changed my life immensely. I mean, you cannot even believe the difference between who I was when I got out of high school and in my early 20s to who I am today. The work that I've done just by following my openings and getting rid of my closings, I'm a completely different person. Like, I physically look different. If I put two pictures up, you would not recognize me. It was so different. And so I was really hypersensitive, and I would get irrationally emotional about criticism. And so when I had a roommate who did the same thing, like I could not even ask her to please put the toothpaste back in the drawer that was my toothpaste, because she would get all upset. And I was like, what's going on? And this is when I started playing with this mirror practice. She would take it and put it in the shower, and then I wouldn't think to look in the shower, and then I would have finally realize it was in the shower, and I'd be running late. And when I confronted her, which is probably accurate because of who I was at that time, she got hyper emotional in an irrational way, in my opinion, over toothpaste. It was my toothpaste. She should have please put it back in the drawer if you're going to use it in the shower. And when I looked at it, I realized that I do that. And that's how I lost 2 jobs, is because they tried to correct me, not criticize, but I took it as criticism. I got really irrationally emotional and ridiculous about it. And I ended up leaving, feeling unappreciated. And it was just ridiculous. And when this came up in my world, I realized I was doing that. And I decided not to do that. I decided to really, in those moments where I felt that way, check in and stop and check my closings. This is part of my decoding for myself. This is long before I was teaching this. Check my closing and decode for myself, what was I thinking that wasn't true? Because whenever you feel that tightness, the lump in your throat, the tightness in your chest, or the sick feeling in the solar plex here, that means what you're thinking about the outside situation is inaccurate. And so if you progress forward with that thought in this tight state, you're not even arguing on the same level as the other person, because you guys are seeing things in such a different way that there's no way there's going to come to a place of resolution or peace. And I decided that I would work on that. So if you decide to take on this grievance to end 2024 in a place where you are fresh, because these grievances, they are still in your sphere, they are still in your world, and they hold you down. If you did think of somebody a minute ago that is, has that grocery store thing where you would want to hide behind the cereal boxes or turn around and run, or drop down behind your grocery cart and pretend you're looking at something else and hope they don't recognize you. If you did have that moment, right? That's a person you need to figure out your own stuff with internally. Doesn't mean you need to contact them. Doesn't mean you need to do anything else. You just need to clear your own stuff around it, because regardless, you can feel it. When I just had you think of that person that came up, man, that's a part of your field. That's genuinely a part of like your life experience, even if that person has been gone for 20 years. That is in a cellular level still an aggravation point that is a part of your frequency. And I can tell you this, there's a reason why it says in the Bible that forgiveness is incredibly important. Okay. And getting rid of the grievances is incredibly important because it's not just the softening of the heart and the loving someone even when it's difficult. It's because in that releasing of the grievance and coming to forgiveness and acceptance and peace, you are nourishing your own life and becoming a loving being and a different being, and the world will show up for you differently. The do unto others as you want others to do unto you, I can tell you, is super important, and it's part of that forgiveness thing, because we don't want people holding on to grudges for 20 years about something that we did, right? I have to, I'm going to admit something here. I hate the Karen videos that are circulating. It bothers me so much that we are taking these people who are in their worst state. These people, if you really look at them, they're yes, they're irrational, and yes, they're in pain. Yes, what they're doing is just completely insane when you watch them. I've seen some that are just like, oh my gosh, this person's like just dropped to the ground and pretended that somebody hit them. It's bad. But we should not be laughing at those people. And we should not be making fun of them. And we should not be putting them on display and shaming them. Because I know for myself, I have Karen moments. And I'm sorry for anybody who's named Karen. I'm bummed that your name got picked out of the hat for this. I have had my own Karen moments. I don't have them very often. I can think of one I've had in the past 5-6 years, but it was one of the worst days of my life. And I had a moment. I caught myself in the middle of it and I apologized and I figured it out and I said, I'm sorry. But it wasn't until the person pulled out their phone and I realized I was being a total jerk and I was losing my mind because the emotional stress and pressure that I was under was so intense and the situation that they had created was so ridiculous that I got mad. And so my point is, there's as many people who have grievances about you and little things that you did and you may not even know, as there probably is about as many as you have. And when you dig in, I think you're going to find that the number of grievances is so ridiculously large that you have. Because I've been using the internal guidance system and following my openings, I really felt like as I was going back in my history and looking at grievances, I really felt like I would be clean. I really felt like I wouldn't have issues as big as I did with so many people. But I realized like I was in communities where I would avoid talking to someone because of something, an exchange that they had with somebody else that I'd heard about. And I had grievances with somebody and it wasn't even my grievance. It was a grievance of a friend. And then I took sides. And as I went back, I thought, it's fine that I took sides because that person needed my support, but it's not fine that I'm still holding a grudge against a person that I didn't even have. The offense wasn't even against me. And then I looked at, wow, how many people have that about me, where somebody said something bad about me and they're holding a grievance and they don't even know me or the situation and how it really happened, right? But what I can say is if you decide to do this, and it'd be a great thing to do on New Year's Day or the day before New Year's on New Year's Eve day, because you really be surprised and just sitting down and being, I'm letting that go. And we're going to get to coaching here in just a minute. But if you decide to do this, this is the practice. You make a list of the people. You ask yourself, where am I doing this to? You write out the grievance. Where am I doing this to myself or someone else? Or where am I not getting to have this, okay, in my life? Maybe being able to not have the house clean. Maybe you've got your issue with a grievance where your husband can sit around and lay around all Saturday and not do housework and chores because he needs a break from work. And you're mad because he's not getting stuff done like you are. And what you really would like to do is be able to lay around and do nothing and let the house be a mess. And you just won't let yourself do that because it's Saturday and your day off and you got to get everything done. And what you really would like to do is mess around, have fun. You're not letting yourself do that kind of thing. And then You'll either recognize it or it'll come to you. It'll be brought to you like that yellow prelude or that thing that, car that you want, and suddenly it's everywhere. If it's something big, like deep trauma, I highly recommend a book called Ho'oponopono by Joe Vitale. Ho'oponopono is a Hawaiian practice that was done by a doctor in Hawaii who was working in a mental institution. And he has this mirror practice like I'm talking about. And what he did, he would, whenever he would see something going on with somebody in the institution, he would use 4 phrases, and it doesn't have to be any particular order. I'm sorry, I love you, forgive me, thank you. And he would say it over and over. I'm sorry, forgive me, I love you, thank you. It is a way to process trauma. If you have a grievance against somebody who did somebody to hurt somebody that you love, maybe there's something that somebody did something to your child or your sister or your mother, this is a wonderful way because it's in your mirror and you're triggered to be able to process that. The book is amazing. But the other thing about it is that over time, that mental institution was closed down because that doctor processed all of the trauma and pain that the people in the institution were battling, which caused them to be there. It's a massively beautiful way to heal. So I just want to give you this the night before Christmas Eve. Some of you are going into the holidays. Some of your grievances are going to smack you in the face tomorrow. Over the holidays, you might have some grievances smack you around a bit and come to light as a way of being able to process that. And let's go into 2025 on the planet, clearing some of this crud out of our own personal experience and vibration so that we can hit the New Year's in a beautiful, forgiving, loving state. All righty. We have some coaching and we got Sky. We're going to bring Sky on here. Hi, Sky.
Hi there. How are
Hello.
you?
I'm good. What can we do for you today?
Hello. Can
I
you?
can.
Yeah. Oh, good. Merry
Christmas.
There's quite a delay here, but that's okay. I'll just speak. And so on the broadcast, and it was not happening around 11 a.m. Pacific, I think, or 12 noon, maybe.
Yes.
I can't remember.
Yes.
Did I miss something?
Nope. I canceled it and I sent out a notification. I had a really bad migraine and I ended up needing to rest. Yeah.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
That's okay.
So I have random questions as I'm just about ending the 14-day program. What do you do when somebody, like my boyfriend, sometimes I'll just be myself and he will out of the blue. So what does that mean? How should I react when somebody gets mad at you without justification, it seems?
Well, does it open you? There's no justification?
Well, it surprises me because, I'll be...
Well, I know, but hold on. Let's look at this, right? So I can't do blanket, like, what do you do if someone's mad at you? That's not where we would go. But what we can do is we can look at your reaction to his being that way. And that's what we can work with. And so right? So when that happens, what happens? Do you open, closed, or is there a neutral?
No, I feel closed, and I also become quiet because I don't want to add to his annoyance. He seems annoyed with me by my questions.
Yeah. So that's a stress defense. So you close, which means what you're thinking about him being angry or annoyed with you is not true. Otherwise, you would be open. And your stress defense, and this is handled in the Stress to Happiness program. We go over stress themes and stress defenses so we can get rid of those buttons. But your stress defense is to become quiet and withdraw and not respond, like withdraw, right? But my question is, so do you have a specific, it's best if we take the specific situation. So what is the specific situation recently where it happened? Do you remember what he was upset about?
Not really, other than something like he'll explain something and I don't understand English.
Oh no, you're breaking up. You don't have a good connection.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So can you go back to where you were a minute
Can
ago? I
you?
think you moved. There you
Oh,
go.
yeah,
That seems a little
maybe.
better now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So
So
he's
he'll get
explaining. So
mad.
this is what I heard. Okay, because you broke up, and this is as far as it got. He would be explaining something to you, and you wouldn't understand, and then you broke up, and I couldn't hear you. So start
Yeah,
there.
he says, "What is it? Am I not speaking English? I just told you what I want or what I'm going to do, and why are you asking for clarification?" And but he tricky for me to understand, and he is Latino, and I'm not actually, but so
Okay.
he
So
gets
let's work with that.
triggered,
So,
I think.
well, yeah, but so do you. And we can work with you. And when you get untriggered, then we can work with you working with him getting untriggered. But for right now, you're both triggering each other. You're both closed. Okay. I can't work with his brain, but I can work with yours. So let's work this out.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, what is your feeling? What was your thought? Is when he said that? What's wrong with you?
I'm
I'm speaking
I
English. And
feel
what's your
shocked.
thought? What's your thought? We have to deal with your
My
thought.
thought is, how can you think that that I'm not listening or that I'm misunderstanding you? All I'm asking is a question to get more clarification, but he gets upset immediately
Okay.
and thinks that I'm not
So,
listening.
yeah, well, that's okay. We're not going to talk about him. Let's stick with you. So,
Okay.
your first thought is, I've done nothing wrong. How can I can't even ask a clarifying question. I'm paraphrasing, right? Okay, so I
Right.
want you to go back to the moment. We're going to go back and we're going to try, because the thing is, this is why this is so powerful, is because we're going to go right to the actual thought and work with the actual thought, because the actual thought is your pain, not a kind of. So I want you to imagine you're sitting there in the situation. Just put yourself back there when that happened, and picture his tone of voice. Hear his tone of voice, and in that moment, and then your thought. What was it?
Sometimes I go, maybe I should break up.
Yeah. Okay. So there you go. That's it. Good.
Yeah.
No, that's one of mine. That's one of mine. I call it the take
Oh,
my toys
really?
and go home. Yeah, I take my toys and
Yeah.
go home stress defense, right?
Because I
So
don't know
does it
what
open?
else to do. It's like,
I
no, it doesn't
exactly.
open me. It closes me.
Yeah, it closes you. Exactly. So
Yeah.
what happens is we have stress themes, things that already always upset us, that were programmed in between the ages of 0 and 7. Those affect how we see everything else, and then as trauma and different situations come up, we have that filter we look through. And when we're little, we have no power. And so our stress theme will come up, the thing that's making us uncomfortable and unhappy and scared and frightened and upset or mad, and we can't deal with anger. Lots of times parents won't let kids have any anger, right? So we have to shove that down. What happens is that then we have a stress defense, which is the process that we create during the ages of 0 and 7 to handle that stress, to handle those problems. Okay. So,
Okay.
so right? So let's say you're in this situation and your mom snaps at you or your dad snaps at you, and your response to make yourself feel better is go hide in your room. Ignore it and go hide in your room. I want to run away. I want to break up. I want to leave. And so that's what your stress defense is now. Mine was the same thing. I had to actually really work hard to not break up with a boyfriend in the middle of a fight. It was my go-to punishment for him and my go-to safety net for myself. And it's BS and it's mean. And when somebody did it to me, I realized how much it hurt and I stopped. I was like, I'm not playing that game in a fight. So it's perfectly knee-jerk reaction, but it closes you. What's the next
Yeah.
thought? And so you know that's not true. You don't want to break up with him. You just know that that thought is the safety thought of your mind trying to protect you. Just ignore it. Now let's go to the next one.
I think my next one is I don't know how to stop this, and I kind of think he's crazy sometimes for jumping to the conclusions that he jumps to. And I'm
Okay.
shocked at how
Okay.
angry he gets. Like he's
That's
smiling
okay.
1 minute, and then boom,
Yeah.
like
That's okay.
"Rawr."
But let's not deal with him. You're still going back to him.
Oh
I'm going to
yeah,
talk about your thoughts, okay? Because you're reacting to him too in your responses, and that's what we can deal with, okay? So I'm going to go to I don't know how to say it any different. I don't understand, and I don't know how to ask any different. Does that sound familiar? Is the thinking?
yeah.
Okay, so hold that thought.
Okay.
I don't know how to do it or say it any different. He's crazy. Open, closed, or neutral. He's crazy. I don't understand.
Crazy is closed,
Mm-hmm.
but the portion of the sentence where I don't know how else to ask the question, that feels open.
Good. Yeah. Good. You're doing
Yes.
great. So that's how we get the both. Okay. Now,
Oh, good.
good. Yeah. So here's the thing. Okay. He has his own trauma in childhood and he has his own stress defenses. His stress defenses sound like it's going to be frustration and attack. Lots of men are. Okay. Beat it with a club. You're hurting me. I'm going to beat you over the head with a club. Okay. It's not intentional.
Mhm.
Okay. It's just, and oftentimes we get our stress defenses. We watch how our parents react to the stress and then we copy them. So he may have seen his dad beat it with a club. And that's how, then that's what when you're hurt, this is what you do. Right. So here's the thing. I once had a contractor who was installing lighting in my bedroom and it was a sconce. Okay. You know what a sconce is? It's like a light that shines up or down, right? So I gave him the sconces and I said, I want these installed on either side of the bed. And I came back and they were pointing down. And I said to him, you installed them upside down. And he said, no, I didn't. I said, yeah, you did. He goes, if they're pointed up, how are they going to be a reading light? And I said, they're not a reading light. They're a mood light. They're on a dimmer. And thinking different. We all have different brains and we all have different ways of processing things. Okay. And he thinks he's being clear, but unless you guys actually take the time as a couple to figure out what is different in the way you think, okay, you're not going to be able to solve this. Okay. And if you take your toys and go home and don't play with him, then you're not communicating with him on how you need to hear it. How you're not asking, how do I say it different? And you're genuinely not understanding him. And I would imagine that there's some place in his 0 to 7 where somebody didn't actually, where he was trying to explain things to someone else and they didn't understand him and they punished him for it. And so his stress defense is to club it, or maybe we don't know, but his reaction isn't on purpose and he's not doing it to hurt you. It's a genuine reaction. And the good news is people don't have genuine reactions unless they feel comfortable and love you. They don't have to love you, but feel comfortable with you. So he's just being himself. And I know in the moment it looks awful and painful, but he's not trying to hurt you. There's a frustration there, which is closing. And frustration is always, always, always when a person's mind believes the situation won't change. So he's just as frustrated with the miscommunication as you are, and he doesn't know how to do it different either. He just doesn't know that.
He's very frustrated with me.
Yeah, that's okay. Because the good news is that means the situation can change. Because that thought's not true. Frustration, on the other side of frustration, the opening is the situation absolutely 100% can change. So now, and look at it. I want you to hold the thought, this situation between him and I can change. Open, closed, or neutral?
On the neutral to open, somewhere more on the neutral to open than
don't diminish the expansion because it's not closed. So you can say
it's not
closed. So, right? So that's your mind and your little ego being like, I'm not going to give up that easy on him being the bad guy. Okay. I'm upset. He's hurting my feelings. This is happening too often. I don't know what to do about it. And I'm going to be mad for a while. And I understand. And that's a normal place for the mind to go. But don't do that. Don't let your mind do that. Because what you really want is for you to be
So
awesome and be in love. And so here's the situation. This is what you can do now. Just really go into it with, I don't know how to do it different. So I have a person in my life, and we have a situation where both of us got punished if we didn't have the answer. So if either of us ask a question and we don't have the answer, we immediately feel shame and anger. And it looks like, I don't know, why are you asking me this? Because we don't have the answer. I don't know. Why are you asking me? And it's like, whoa, just ask. And what time is the blah, 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 or whatever. And then we realized we both have it. Gen X kids. You remember, I don't know if your parents ever did this, but why did you do that? I don't know. Why did you do that? I don't know. Why did you do that? I don't know. I don't know why I did that. It was a stupid kid. Why did I don't know why I did that. I just did. I just picked it up and poured it out and it happened and now it's all wet and I wasn't thinking, right? So then we get this feeling. So that's how this stuff gets encoded into us. So the thing to do is, baby, I hate this. I really truly don't understand what you're saying a lot of the time. Your brain isn't my brain. And I really would like to stop this because it's obvious you're frustrated with me and I don't want to frustrate you. And I get hurt and I don't want to be with you anymore, which is a lie too. Can we slow down and figure out how to communicate so that I can understand? Because I truly am not trying to frustrate you. We've got to slow down and figure out how to do this different. Okay. And then when it happens, whoa, this is that moment where we agreed to slow down and do it a little different. I really don't understand what you're telling me. I'm not stupid and you're not dumb either. What is it? Can we, instead of saying it 3 times exactly the same way you just said it, can we try to how do we do this? Right. And you figure it out. For me and my person, we had to decide we didn't have to always have the answer. And that when we got that reaction, we were in our little kid and we were like, oh, you really don't have the answer. I got that. I'll go figure it out. I'll find the answer. Or can you get the answer? Yeah, I can get the answer. Okay, good. And we'd laugh about it because we realize that we both do it to each other. And it has nothing to do with either of us. Does that make sense? You're bringing your little kids into the room.
yeah.
You're bringing your little kids into the room. And so that takes a different little conversation. But you're both closed, which means there is an opening that this will get worked out. If you put the energy into it, it can. That's the good news. Okay?
Cool.
Now, knowing that your job is when you have your stress theme come up where your feelings are hurt and you want to take your toys and go home, that's your job is to say, no, I'm closed. That means what I'm thinking about his reaction is not true. It's not insane. He's not stupid. I'm not stupid. I truly don't know how to act any different, right? You have to deal with your thoughts in that moment because you've got to break your own stress theme. And it doesn't take very long. 3 or 4 of these moments of you stopping and doing that, and you're not going to react to him the same way. And there is something very powerful as a partner to be able to deal with your own stuff and be able to come fresh to the conversation. That is so healing for the other person. To not be judged for their reaction that isn't great in the moment. Right? And not have it hurt you.
Yeah, I've been reacting differently ever since I've started the 14-day program. So I think it's helping me. And so I guess I'm going to add what you said, which is, show me how to ask you for clarification. Because I'm not sure what to say in order to get more answers without upsetting you.
No,
I mean, I
not
don't get
upsetting you.
mad, but
Hold on. I'm going to give you something else to say a little different.
oh,
I don't know
okay.
what to say to ask. I'm frustrating you. I truly don't. I'm not doing it on purpose. I don't really know how to do it. And I need you to help me understand how to do it different, how to ask different. Because I really don't understand. I'm really, truly not trying to push your button. That's what you do. Because that way, don't talk about his anger or his madness. Just like, I don't want to frustrate you. Teach me, and he won't know.
Okay.
He's not going to know how to do it different. So then you can explore it together. Well, what about if I say this, or what about that? Or I don't know what you're talking about. They're not understanding. So then you're going to have to lead. Well, what about if it's this? Well, what about if I'm thinking of it this way? And this is a part I'm confused about. Can you clarify this part I'm confused about? Okay. Because he will still be in his trigger and you won't be. So you're going to have to lead the conversation, because he's going to go, I don't know how to say it different. And you're going to go, Zen's advice was BS. And it's like, no, my advice wasn't BS. He's still in the closing. So he's not going to, his brain isn't going to be on the loop of solution. So you're going to have to be like, so this is the part I'm confused about. Is there another way you can say it? Or you'll have to lead that part, because you're actually actively moving into the opening solution. Okay.
Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have more coaches, more coaching after me?
I
Because
do. I have another.
You do.
You can.
Okay.
Let's
I'll wait
do one more.
another day.
No, go ahead. No, give me one more. We still have time.
Oh, well, you were earlier on this episode, you were talking about people we have grievances with. So as I mentioned in my very first, I think it was my very first time on these episodes, I was scammed out of some money this year. So I've tried very hard to not engage in vengeful thinking or anger even. I recognize that somebody, they treated me by taking what was me and lying to me by virtue of online scams, that that they're clearly not thinking in the right frame of mind.
Okay.
They have lost
So
touch
here's the
with their
deal.
direction.
Okay. All that. Yeah. Let's just cut to the chase.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. There's a lot of bad people in the world. There's a lot of bad people. So sometimes you have to cut bait and run. As soon as you sucked in and you were able, because you're a part of that. Yes, they took advantage of you, but you trusted them. So as long as you got to work on the discernment of how to not trust somebody in that situation. And then it comes to, if you're still triggered, you got to look at where you're holding a grudge. Like we got to write out exactly what you're upset about. That's not PC, not like, oh, they're obviously lost their way. And no, write out exactly everything. You MFer, you just did this and blah, blah, blah. And you awful scamming, blah, 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 whatever it is. And set it aside, get it out. Okay. And then it'll come back around. You'll hear that coming back around, either inside your head about, it's a mirror. It is a mirror of some sort. And we're not going to go deep into it, because this is a hard one, because it's not someone close to you. It came into your world. It happened. But the thing is this, the biggest issue, Sky, is your situation where you are thinking that you are living in lack and you only have a set of resources. If you had $1 million,
Yep.
you wouldn't care about the scam. You'd be angry. You'd write it off. You'd move on with your life. The real problem is that you are feeling in lack and that you don't have abundance. And that is the thing that you should be looking at the closings around. Every single time that you go to spend money and your brain goes,
I
because every time you go to
because I
turn up
was
the heat in the
scammed,
house. Go ahead.
that maybe I had scammed somebody, but I haven't. So I wasn't
No, it's
sure how
lack.
to look at it. Oh, it's lack.
No, you're
Okay.
attracting this.
Yeah.
It's attracting this. I don't have enough. I don't have enough. It's all going away. It's all going away. It's going away fast. I'm not getting enough value from what I'm getting. I'm not investing in the right things. The investments aren't coming back. I mean, it's all that. And so, and I have a program that's not for sale right now. It's called Wealth Through Flow. That's a live program. And I'm going to give you a piece of it. Okay. So one is, notice as you go through your day, every time you have a lack thought, you're filling up the gas tank and you have this moment of, God, man, it's going to be $80. You go to turn up the heat and you're like, wonder, I'm cold, but I don't want to spend the money, right? All the times where you're just saying, I don't have enough. I don't have enough. It's multiple times a day. Multiple times a day you're doing that. Notice the closing. Okay, because you're going to be close. That closing is what's keeping the abundant money and from flowing to you. And then stop in that moment, and I want you to use this phrase. I always have what I need before I need it. Say it right now.
I always have what I need before I need it.
Okay, now stop moving. Say it again and notice how your IGS responds.
I always have what I need before I need it. Yeah, it's nice and open.
You've got to,
and I've been saying it ever since you told me.
It's reprogramming that neural pathway. Okay, because as much time as you're spending on thinking of vengeance, all of that thought process could be thinking of abundance. All of that you can shift into gratitude about all the things you have that are just, amazing. If you walk through your house and you look at all the stuff, and there's not an American I know, friggin' even homeless people have a ton of crap now. I mean that as sincerely. It's like what we do. We just accumulate, right? And I'm not downputting them. I'm just saying it's just what we do. You look around and you're like, oh my gosh, all this stuff we have, and it just we lose it and it comes right back. Like, it's just the way it is. And I always have what I need before I need it, because there's that groove is what is creating all of it. Is feeling like you don't have enough, you're losing it. It's not going to be, all of that. That's what we want to shift.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you very much. Have a great
You're
Christmas.
welcome. I will. Thank you. You too.
Thanks.
All right. And then we have Lisa. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can. Hi.
Oh, how are you doing?
Good. Thank you.
So can I ask, when did you send out that last email? Because I just got it like 20 minutes ago.
So I sent out 15 minutes before the event.
Oh, okay. All right. I always thought maybe my email was slow in giving it to me. Okay.
No, the thing is take them and put them in your calendar. I don't want to overdo people on my email list. And if I say 2 hours beforehand, people aren't getting it. They're not showing up. So I'll give you a 30 to 15 minute warning. I'm playing with time things. So that way people are like, oh, it's coming. I need to jump on. But the best thing to do is take that list that's in that email I just sent you with all the calls till the end of the month and put it in your calendar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So lots been going through my head since we last got together, and we talked about doing the business and all that. And I did want to get together with you on that, or I looked at your classes. I can't take them right now, but at some point in the near future, I hope to take 1 or 2 of those classes. But when I do the healing modality that I do, it's funny because sometimes I get that feeling, and then sometimes I just get nothing. I get the closed, but I don't have a feel for neutral.
There's nothing. Oh, we've got a back echo again.
Oh.
So neutral is no sensation. Okay, so there's closed, which is you feel a lump in your throat, a tightness or anxiety feeling, activation here, or tightness. It's suffering, it's uncomfortable, it doesn't feel good. And then there's no sensation, which is when you clear out a bunch of your closings, then you get the center, the feeling, right? And then there's open, which is neutral is considered an opening and a more of an expansion. And so you play between the neutral and the expansion opening feeling. And then you pay attention, so that's where you're moving towards. And then you want to always pay attention to when there's a closing, and you shift your thinking, which is in the courses. You shift your thinking using the different types of practices to find an opening based on the different types of thoughts that we have.
Okay. Yeah, I think I just really need to take the course then and get more in touch with what it feels like.
Sorry. It is. And it's a relationship that you build, and it depends on the type of thinking that you're having. And so like if you do the first course, well, it's not a first course, there's 2 courses. There's the Quick Start 14-day program, which is great, and it'll get you going. And then there's the 4-month program, which is the Stress to Happiness program, and that is mastery. And both are good. And some people don't have time for the 4 month, it's easy. You're going to find it's easy. So there's short little videos. You're not sitting there for hours. I don't do that. Every single thing I produce is small with an action, small with an action.
Okay.
So it's really easy.
That's a good
Okay.
idea.
And so everybody has time. Nobody doesn't have time for this. The bigger program, you get 2 practices a week. And you just do them for 2 or 3 days, and then the next one comes, and you do it for 2 or 3 days, and the next one comes, and you do it. That's how it
Okay.
works. And you listen to the 15-minute audio, and then you do it, and you're training it. You're engaged in training it. It's not one of these courses where you listen to like 6 hours of audio and you do a workbook. No, you're doing it as you go. You're learning,
Okay.
and you're using it.
Yeah.
That's what makes it so powerful.
Okay. So,
and with the healing modality, unfortunately, on these coaching calls, I can't help you because I don't understand. I don't know the healing modality, and I haven't used the IGS to replace dowsing.
yeah.
You know, so I'm not. You have to take the course so that you can decode that for yourself.
Okay.
You'll be able to once you understand the IGS, and then you can be like, this is what I'm thinking, Zen, and we can check with my IGS and play with what you're discovering as you're decoding it in this new way.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
So yesterday I got real upset with somebody, and I was trying to use the IGS by just saying certain things and seeing if it felt right. And one of the things I said was, now I can't remember.
Well, tell me about the situation first.
What
did you get upset
someone
about?
insulted me.
Okay, does it open you that they insulted you?
No.
Go ahead. What'd they say? Yeah. What'd they say?
They told me to wake up and stop being so gullible.
Okay. So hold on. There's nowhere to go. So just hold the thought. I need to wake up and not be so gullible. They're right. Open, closed, or neutral.
Closed.
It's not true. It's their stuff. Let it go.
It's totally his stuff.
Yep. Not yours. Now hold on. Now hold on. Now hold the thought. That's not my stuff. I'm not taking that in. That's has nothing to do with me.
Oh, I really felt that open.
And that's it. That's how you handle it.
Okay.
It was never yours to begin with. Just let it go.
Well, actually, I just wrote him back and said, I said, I'm aware of that. Thanks for letting me know how you feel. And that's all I said. So
that's fine. Yeah.
You know what I did? I had some other responses that were like, they were like defending myself. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And because when I defended, it didn't feel good.
It didn't feel opening.
You know?
Because there's nothing to defend yourself with because it's not true.
Right.
It's not true. You're not gullible and you don't need to get off it. And if you are gullible, which you can check your IGS and be like, am I really gullible? If you open, you are gullible. That doesn't mean you need to get rid of it. Gullible is innocent. Gullible is a moment in time where you're trusting.
Right.
It's very childlike. It's very innocent. Okay. Yes, people can take advantage of people who are gullible, but now that you're working on your IGS, you'll close when they go to take advantage of you, and they won't be able to take advantage of you anymore because you'll feel it.
Right.
Wait, something doesn't feel right here. I'm not going to move forward with this. Okay.
Right.
But the key is whenever anyone accuses you, criticizes you, names you, blames you, any of that, check in and be like, is this true? And if it opens you, it's true. And you've got some work to do, and you got to figure out like, what do I want to do with this new information? Right. Like you just opened it being gullible. Do you want to change that? Does it open you to change that?
I think it's good to be gullible sometimes.
Does it? And when you said that, it opened you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Then keep your gullible. Don't let anybody push you around. Now, if it closes you, if you were like, I think I need to keep my gullible, and it closed you, you'd be like, oh, I need to wisen up a little bit, and it'll open you. And you'd be like, okay, yeah, I do need to wisen up a little bit. He was right. Okay, I'm going to start doing a little more, trust stuff. Like, can I trust this? Can I not trust this? But you don't have to do anything. You're fine. He was wrong. He was wrong. It's his stuff. Love him. Love him for having stuff.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of this call. We all need to love each other for our stuff because we all got it.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I know that.
Yeah. This is
Yeah.
the true meaning of in the Bible where it says, take the log out of your own eye before you take the speck of dust out of your brother's.
Yeah.
This is the
I know that's so
true meaning
true.
of how to do that. You turn it around and look at where am I doing this? Where is this going on? You clear your own stuff. And then very often the brother just kind of fades away. Their stuff doesn't even matter because you've cleared it and it's done. But that's what this is, And so, he's got to take the log out of his own eye. He probably, I don't know him, but he probably has some gullible stuff that he needs to work on.
Well, I knew that, but it was so what my focus went to. I had trouble when people criticize me, and that kind of went back to my father. So I did some work around that, healing that
So,
relationship.
so here's the thing. Instead of saying criticize when people criticize you, okay, this is working on new neural pathways. So we're looking for an
Yeah.
opening in this moment. I'm going to decide for myself when somebody has a critique, whether it's true or not. It's not the criticism. It's you interpreting it as truth that's causing your closing.
Right. Yeah.
It's
it
you
is.
immediately taking on that as being something that's true and then ruminating on it in the closing, because the closing is the pain. When your dad criticized you, it was you closed because you thought, oh God, I am blank. And it wasn't true. You closed. The closing is suffering and painful. It's awful. It doesn't feel good. But
Right.
you didn't know it wasn't true. You didn't know that feeling meant what he just said about you isn't true. If what he said about you was true, it would open you. And it wouldn't
Right.
be painful, and it would feel like something he was doing to build you up and to teach you and to educate you and to support you and to help you be a better, stronger, more amazing woman. But that's what happened. And so I would go through and write out all of those painful things that he said that was criticism, and check your IGS. And once you find that they're all closing, go back and say, I am not blank. And notice the opening, because it's the opening that creates the new neural pathway. I am also not this. Open. Whew. Because you got to get that stuff that he put in there out.
Right.
Okay. And you do that by reopening, by getting those openings, reprogramming those neural pathways back to being in a unison with what's true for you and was always true for you from the time you were a child until now. And you got to reclaim it using this process.
Okay.
It works. And then it won't even bother you anymore. You'll get to a place where somebody can be like, you're blank. And you're like, that's not me.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. I have to decide if it's true or not.
No, you don't have to decide anything. You have to use your IGS to have the opening so that your brain can start a new neural pathway. There is no decision.
Okay.
Your mind does not have the capacity to make a different decision about that critique. So here's the thing.
Right.
It doesn't. Okay. So I talk about this. You can't decide to be different. I'm sorry. If we could, all of us would have hit our New Year's Eve goals.
No, I know
All of
that's
us will
true.
have, right? None of us. We can't decide anything like that. There has to be a physical thing. Our body programs our minds. So I say this. What color is a yield sign? Have you heard me say this?
Yellow.
Okay. So perfect.
And it's not yellow anymore.
No. It's red and white. And you're going to hear me say this. It's red and white. But your
Yeah, I
mind
tried
didn't
this
know
on my
that.
husband. My husband knew it was red and white though, so I didn't.
It doesn't work for everybody because it was changed in 1974 from yellow and black to red and white. By 1978, all of the yellow black yield signs were out of commission. Okay, on the roadways. It has been that way since 1978. All right, I have done this I've had this question with people for years, and they'll still say the same thing. I was just at a live event, and I went last year to this beautiful women's leadership conference to keynote. I keynoted it again this year. A woman came up to me and goes, I was here last year and heard the yellow yield sign and knew it was red and white, and I still thought it was yellow. So if I give you a red crayon and a piece of paper, and I have you color yield, okay, and make the sign, you'll never, ever, ever forget it because your body did it. That coloring will
Oh,
change
okay.
it. Your
Okay.
coloring will change it. You cannot sit here and think about the criticism that your dad gave you and make a decision that it's not true. Your mind is just going to go straight back to that criticism. It's in there. The
Right.
mind
It's a
cannot update the mind.
subconscious. It's a
That's
subconscious
right.
belief.
Right.
Right.
But if you write them out and you go, I am this, I'm closed, or this is true, whatever he said, and you feel the tightness, that's not true. I am not that. And it goes, and it opens your mind, because it's the body, your mind just started a new neural pathway.
Okay.
And then the next time it comes up, you'll close and you're like, oh, that's not true. I closed. You can't even believe it anymore. We clear through stuff so fast with this work. You can't believe it anymore because you go back and you're like, oh, I'm closed. I can't. And it just pops you right back into the opening. And that's where the new neural pathway begins to take charge. And it's very, very quick. Boom, 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 boom. Like 3 or 4 times of reverting back to, no, I know that's not true. And you open back up and that is gone. Really. And so that's how you do it. That's how you do it. You have to actually take the time to go from the closing to the opening. Now, a couple
Okay.
of those may be true, may open you. And then you're like, oh, wow, that one was true. He was right about that. I am slow. I'm open. I'm slow. I'm a slower person than other people. That's okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
All right. All
Yeah,
right.
great. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you. Have a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you too and everybody else.
That's good. All right. I've got a comment here. Thank you, Lisa. All right. We have marvelous. Hold on. It's going to come up here for everybody. Marvelous midlife method. I love that. Okay. What if the statement, I always have what I need before I need, closes me in my throat? There's 3 different areas of the internal guidance system. All right. There's the throat, which is when you're undermining your own power, when you're undermining your own self-assurance, abundance, that kind of thing. Then there's the chest, right? Which is for past, present, and future. It's just normal thoughts, almost all your thoughts. But if you're activated in the solar plex area, it's a belief system. What I would say, and not having the capacity to actually coach you, Marvelous, is if that you had an immediate thought, and if you want to put this in the chat, you can. Go ahead and say it again. I always have what I need before I need it. I always have what I need before I need it. And then tell me if there's an instant knee-jerk thought that comes. And then if you can put it in chat, that would be helpful for me to be able to give you the answer. So what usually happens is there's some thought in there that is like, no, I don't believe that because of this. Your mind comes in and counteracts it, which causes the throat closing. And so you want to notice what that is. Hi, Catherine. You want to notice what that is, Catherine, what that knee-jerk thought is, because that thought is something that was put into you about you not having any power. That's what that's about. When you find that thought, then what you do is you say, I am closed. That means what I'm thinking is not true. That thought is not true. And you should feel a little bit of an opening in the throat. Actually, you should feel that lightening when you act, because you're working with the exact thought. So you should feel that begin to lighten and release. Okay. And then you can play with the, I always have what I need before I need it thought again. Okay. Because you want it, that other thought that's closing your throat is really important for us to get rid of that, to reprogram that and shift that. So did you get any thought when you held that again? I'm going to be quiet here for just a second. I never have enough, and your throat closed, which means that thought's not true. That thought's not true. So hold the thought again. I never have enough. Notice the closing, and then say, I am closed. That means what I'm thinking is not true. I am closed. And notice, yeah, it works. I'm going to just show you guys so you can see this. You know that I'm not just BSing you. The thought is I never have enough. Boom. It works. It released. That means that thought is true. Now go back and hold the thought. I always have enough. I always have what I need before I need it. I always have what I need before I need it. And then you'll notice that you'll be able to get that. And you can play with that throughout the day today. Okay. So if you want to get on my email list, I'm doing these coaching sessions and anyone can participate until the end of the year. And then I'm going to ask you to be part of a program, either the 14-dayer, which is at fearfreehuman.com. There's a 40-minute video, if you're not familiar with me, at the top of that website, fearfreehuman.com. That gives you the nuts and bolts of what this is. And then there's 2 paths to enter into working and training you to use your IGS. One is the 14-day quick start, and the other one is the Stress to Happiness 4-month mastery program. Both are very reasonable in price. And then you get a month of more of coaching in January if you use a quick start, or 4 months of this kind of coaching. But for the month of December, if you want to participate, at the top of fearfreehuman.com, there's an email subscription, your name and your email, and then you will get the daily reminders of when these coaching calls are up until January or December 31st. And the next one I'm doing is on the 26th and the 27th and then the 29th. So it'll be there. All right. So it says, dun, dun, it's better. I'll play with it. Thank you. You are welcome, Catherine. Everybody have a Merry Christmas. I love you very much. If you're not a Christmas person, you don't celebrate Christmas, have a happy holiday while the rest of us are shutting down the world. And I love you. Have an amazing